Back to you, Huw Merriman, about British Airways. You mentioned the plan for thousands of redundancies, pilots now in that as well. This from a woman who's been BA cabin crew for 32 years. On the 15th of June, I'll be made redundant from the job I love. Redundancy notices are to be issued to the entire workforce. 31,000 lucky former workers will then be offered re-employment on a vastly inferior contract and salary. For me, this would represent a 65% pay cut. For the financial year 1920, the company made a near record-breaking operating profit of £1.9 billion. We are not a drain on the company. We are the engine driving the profits. I just wonder what your government can do to stop this when this is a private company responding, they say, to a massive drop in demand for air travel.
I think a lot of this just doesn't stack up with the evidence. I mean, of course, it'd be naive to say that job losses will not occur in the aviation sector, but to get to between a quarter and a third of jobs being lost, and I think it's up to over 35,000 on these fire and rehire, so on the sort of really unfavourable terms as you just described, just seems to me to be over the top at a time when we don't know whether the aviation sector will recover. The boss of Ryanair is pretty sure it will recover, and relatively quickly. So I just feel that this is a cynical ploy from the chief executive of IAG, British Airways parent, to do what he's tried to do many times before, but has been thwarted by a workforce that reasonably says we don't want our terms and conditions weakened.
But I'm asking you, what can your government do to stop it?
Well, so of course, legislation is possible, but this is a private company. What I'd like to do, which I think really is the reason why BA have come out and spoken a bit more and tried to defend what they're doing, albeit I don't think successfully, is to look at the allocation of slots. So BA gets 51% of all the landing slots in Heathrow. That is so lucrative for BA. If we talk to BA about the fact that, well, if you don't have the same size operations, they won't actually have enough staff to manage those slots. Question. Therefore, the slots need to be reallocated and we need to restart competition. I think that BA would then suddenly look at what it's doing and decide it's not a good move. So there are levers at certainly the air regulator, the CAA's disposal. And I'd like to see us now talk tougher with BA and make it absolutely clear that it is not acceptable at a time of concern, pandemic, to do this to an incredibly loyal and supportive workforce that have delivered 66% of the profits for IAG, yet are only sort of accounting to 12% of the cost. And this is not a difference between solvency and insolvency. It won't make that much difference at all. And if BA and IAG can buy a Spanish airliner for €1 billion at this time, then they can stand by the staff that have delivered the profits to allow them for this expansion. So I just don't buy their arguments, and I'm going to be writing to MPs today to rebut the arguments that Willie Walsh made last week, which again I don't think stand up to scrutiny.
And you can't see him, Mr. Merriman, but Jim McMahon of Labour, the Shadow Transport Secretary, is nodding in agreement with pretty much everything you're saying on that response to BA. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you very much for being with us this morning.